Hi, this is Dr. Tim Green, and I am here with Dr. Anna Correia, who's an associate professor in the School of Education at Iowa State University, where she's also a faculty member in the Human-Computer Interaction Program. So, Dr. Correia, thank you for taking your time to let me interview you. So, welcome.
You're very welcome. I'm very happy to have, I'm having this conversation with you today.
So, I'm going to give Dr. Correia some time here. She wants to talk about her background because it's very interesting, where she's from and what she's done. And then she's going to talk about her perspective on online teaching and learning, and then we'll jump into the questions. So, Dr. Correa?
Thank you. So just to give you a little bit of background on, so you know more about where I come from. My first degree was in teaching biology from University of Minho, in Portugal, and I start my career as an educator, as a science teacher, and I taught in several middle and high schools in Portugal. So I am a teacher at heart, and the things I do and the things that I experience and my thoughts and my practices come from that experience. I've also experienced myself as a learner and as a teacher, schooling in 3 different continents so far. So again, I'm bringing that live experiences into my concepts of what is learning, what is teaching, and specifically to what is online learning and teaching that I see from a broad perspective. So for me, it's any kinds of activities that happen, the activities that have an educational purpose that happen in environments that are controlled by connected electronic devices and networks like intranets and devices can be mobile, can be tablets, can be the traditional computer or desktop. So I just want you to understand that what's coming down is coming from that perspective. So
Excellent.
what would be your next question for me?
You mentioned you've taught on 3 different continents or been a student slash instructor on 3 continents. So, Europe is one, North America. Where's the third one?
I grew up in Eastern Africa,
Oh, okay.
so my elementary schooling took place in public schools in Mozambique, which is
Oh,
in this part of the African continent.
that's very interesting. So you've had probably 3 very different experiences then.
Yes, and right now in my mind they're all mixed up. So I tend to see things a little bit different
No,
because I
yeah,
have those experiences, and everyone has their own experiences
right.
that impact the way they see and they solve problems.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Excellent. So our first question is really, how did you get interested in online teaching and learning?
You know, is everything in life. You get interested when things are meaningful to you. So yes, I start getting interested when I become a online student and when I became online teacher. So things get messy and you start asking questions to yourself every day. So I just want to share a couple of pictures with you if
Sure.
it's okay. So I'll be sharing my desktop here with you. And so my first interest it was related with how can you support students? How can you assist students to learn and study in a way that holds the promise of online learning and teaching anywhere, everywhere, when you want to attain your educational goals? And how you support them on developing self-regulation strategies so they can become independent learners. And the, in that sense, the online teacher becomes a facilitator of that learning, and that would be their major role as teachers. But I'm also intrigued by how you creating a sense of community is challenging, but I think the most challenge is maintaining that sense of community and support collaboration that is meaningful and productive as well. So how to increase interaction, not only between the student and the instructor and the student and the content, but as importantly, between student and student and student and community. And I'll be talking more about how online learning and teaching and people involved in that process can engage into service and into partnerships with the community. And another thing that intrigues me is how you facilitate learning in online learning environments, and how you create a dynamic that is sustainable as well as successful online learning community. And another thing that so the question was, how did I start it? Yeah, I started by becoming a learner, online learning myself, and a teacher, online teacher myself. And then these questions come all the time. Looking back, I still have questions. And one thing that bothers me the most is the students, online students. So when I mention students here, is going to be referring to online students. They strongly dislike threaded discussions. So we've been thinking about it, and we've conducted some research about this puzzlement. And this semester, we're trying something different, that as a supplement to the threaded discussions, we're offering what we call a learner curated knowledge base. So the students come together into that space. It happens to be Scoopit, but could be any different tool. The core of the activity is that the students are the curators of their own learning. So the class I'm teaching is about evaluation and usability. So every week there's a topic. So for instance, this week, if I remember correctly, was about usability testing methods. So the students identify, select online artifact, and they write a meaningful comment about it, and they share with the community. And I'll do the same, not as frequent poster as my students, but I try to contribute to the community as well. And after the class, they not only have created this knowledge base about evaluation and usability that they can use for the class and to be successful in this class, but it goes beyond the class, and they come back to these spaces to revisit resources that their peers curated. So we're trying this, and we're collecting data about this, and we're going to be developing, conducting some data analysis in the summer. My point is, it's still a struggle for online teacher and online student to have a meaningful and relevant interaction. I think that one of the challenges, and I know you're going to ask me a question about the challenges, and probably should not mention, but in this case, we want to mimic what happens on the typical classroom or the face-to-face. I don't like to use the word typical, because what does it mean? The face-to-face classroom, we come together, we have topics, we have readings, and we discuss those readings, and it's a natural conversation. But when we try to mimic that dynamic into online environment, we come across that dissatisfaction, which is not good for anyone. So it's still something that puzzles me, and I will continue to investigate this issue. That's the
excellent.
Now, answer to your question.
Yeah, now I have a whole bunch more questions that we didn't even talk about based upon what you just said. So, Dr. Correia mentioned that the next question was talking about challenges in online teaching and learning, which you've mentioned several of them in your answer before, which is good. But before we go there, I'm really intrigued by the idea of the students, online students, not liking threaded discussion. I'd love to ask a question about that. What are you finding that they don't like about it?
They found it's artificial. It's fake. It's something that they have to do in addition to the group project. Usually my classes have a major project that is product oriented, and they have to work together as a virtual team because they don't meet face to face. 80% of them, they are geographically apart. So they think this is an add-on to an already challenging project in the class. my initial idea was this was the readings that they need to develop a successful project. So I'm always questioning myself if this is a major issue. And this has been across all courses. I'm just using my spring course as an example because I'm living it now. And you just have to listen to the learners and try to question yourself. Okay, if even the thread itself, the design of the thread, like the thread discussion that is on the screen right now, it's not from one of my classes, it's just some sample. It's boring. I'm sorry. As a teacher, I just don't see anyone's faces and I cannot interact with people. I cannot use my hands. It's just this list of things. So we need a little bit of more excitement by making the discussions meaningful in this new environment.
Interesting. So you're the learner created knowledge base, which is very interesting. So they're curating the knowledge there, and I noticed that you have them discuss why they're putting up the. Did I see that on the slide where you had them give their insights onto why they included that?
About it. Yes, because when you find an online artifact that is meaningful to you, you will register in your mind, but you might not be overt about it. So the insight that Scoop allows it, but it could be something else. I'm not sponsoring or promoting it here. It's just a tool.
Yeah.
Why is this important to me? Why is it relevant to the weekly topic? Why this caught my attention? And then the students can react and myself can react to that insight.
Excellent. Yeah, I just have a pragmatic question. So, and I like this, the idea of, moving from the threaded discussion to this learner curated knowledge base. How do you go about assessing that, and if you have to give a grade to it? I know that's such a pedestrian question, but I know some people watching this and listening are going to say, okay, great. Now, how do I grade this?
No, it's a very important question, because what is the purpose of taking a course? Is getting a grade or an evaluation or an assessment. So, okay, the drawback is it's a little bit labor intense in terms of grading, because we don't look only to the counts, because those are easy, but we look at the quality of the insights and also the quality of the artifact that was selected. And I could share this with you in more detail, but yes, we have guidelines.
Okay.
Not a rubric
Sure.
per se, but what are the criteria to meet the quality of not a posting, I don't even know what to call it, like
right.
An insight. So the students will know that those are the things they are expecting from them, and this is communicated up front. And when we grade them, score, because there's a high score for participation, I really reward participation in the online class, in the online course, because it's important. So it needs to be rewarded. So when I grade, we also discuss, me and my teaching assistant, we discuss the criteria that we gave to the students and how we're going to analyze those.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool.
There's always a price to pay. This is the price, and I'm glad to do it.
Sure. Excellent. Okay, that was very, very interesting. So, like I said, you've kind of answered some of the second question, but I kind of want to give you a chance to elaborate on it. And the question is,
should I stop?
Yeah. You can get, if you don't mind getting back to you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Back to me.
There you are. So, the question is about challenges in online teaching and learning. So, what do you see as some of the greatest challenges? I know you mentioned, making meaningful interactions, developing the online community, creating that dynamic online learning community. But are there other things that you see as some of the greatest challenges?
I think there's one major challenge that I briefly mentioned is we have successful pedagogies that work in the face-to-face classroom, but we need to let them go. Now so let them go, have that movement, let them go. Now it's a different environment. We need to we have this opportunity. So I always tend to look at challenges as opportunities. We have this amazing opportunity to create new pedagogies. They are learner-centered and they work in online environments. So it's a challenge, and we need to, sometimes it's about to let go the control of a teacher-centered classroom. And it's hard and it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me too. But maybe is that being aware of that and practice it a little bit every day, we are already finding interesting things that only happen and are unique to online learning environments. And those things or those findings are going to not feel, full into the new pedagogies. And that's a challenge and an activity. And I'm excited for the activity and work on the challenge every day.
Excellent.
There's more, but this is the core,
Yeah.
I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, giving up control it's tough.
Yes, it's tough for me too.
Yeah, of course. Okay, great. So the third question, what are, looking at you talked about that face-to-face to online, and there are differences. What are ways in which an educator can transition successfully into being an educator online? So what are some of the things that they can do, or how do they go about successfully transitioning in your opinion? What are some of the things that you would tell someone new to it, how they could successfully transition?
Some of those things I'm experienced myself, and I've been experienced myself. Again, it's about learning how to let it go and learning how to let that control go in a responsible way. I cannot make like assumptions, but in my case, most of my online students are full-time professionals, adult learners, and they are responsible. They have responsibilities. So it's that building that trust as well. But this is more like on the personal side. But in general, like looking back, looking forward or looking at how successful face-to-face classroom teacher transition into become as successful, even more successful online teacher, I think one critical piece is get the teacher involved in the decision making, in the planning, and in the designing of that online learning experience. That can be a course. Most of the times it's a course, but it's not only limited to that. And make the teacher part of that process and not just someone that leaves the materials or the content at the online education unit on campus, and then the instruction design working there is doing that work without the professor or the faculty, the instructor, the teacher, I call everyone teacher, involvement. So having that voice in the design and development of the online learning experience is important. I really want to share something with you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So we're going for another sharing.
Excellent.
Right now. So I'm sharing your screen with you. So I want to share the work of one of my former students. Her name is Evrim Baram. She is now assistant professor at Middle East Technical University in Ankara, Turkey. And she is the lead author of this article that was published in the Teachers College Record, tracing successful online teaching in higher education, the voices of exemplary online teachers. And this is just one of the projects she has conducted for her dissertation that I was supervising or advising. I don't know what the right term is. We work collaboratively like a research team, so it's hard for me to figure out the right roles. She's very successful. Right, she's doing all kinds of things right now in at our university in Turkey. But this was probably our first their first work that made her known in this field of online learning and teaching. And what she says is that to successful transitioning to become a very good online teacher is maybe follow the footsteps of the exemplary online teachers. What they are doing right now, they are listening to their students. They are increasing, they have a strong teaching presence. They are part of the planning, the learner analysis, and the planning and development that goes into their online courses. They are active participants, and they are in touch with their students. There's more things, so I'm just dropping the line here. If your audience would like to read the article that Avram is the first author, there will be more advice on that, but
excellent.
I kind of summarized them already.
I'll link to this in the write-up for your interview, so people can go to it.
Maybe I should stop sharing, and then I have one last sharing
Sure.
at the end, so I don't disturb this interview too much.
Oh no, this is great.
And I'm back to me, right?
Yes. So those were those were great things that you shared, and I'll definitely share that interview. The next question we want to transition into, I'm assuming it's an area that you're very, very, very interested in, and I want to let you you talk about it as we put this question out there, and then let you explain it. But the question I had is, in looking at your work, is how can we create authentic learning opportunities online that address civic-minded practices? It's very interesting. So I'm interested in hearing more about this. So I'm just going to be quiet and let you answer this.
Okay, so there's two important things in this question and that I'm passionate about. First is make online learning meaningful, and I'm talking about only online learning and teaching here. There's other issues in the face-to-face classroom too, but make it meaningful. So it's an experience that the students are engaged with because it's relevant to them. So one thing that, and more importantly, the students nowadays, the new generations, they are demanding from us authentic experiences. They are paying a high price for their tuition. They want things that are meaningful to them, meaningful to their profession, meaningful to their interests, meaningful to their aspirations as persons and as scholars or professionals. So we need that. We have the obligation to provide these kinds of experiences. And another thing added to the opportunity and to what is happening right now, the new generations are also interested to make this right. They want to end poverty. They want to fight hunger. They want to protect the environment. So whatever educational activities are authentic in our online courses or experiences, they need to be linked to make this right. And this is a demanding that is going to grow. Maybe it's not you don't feel it very in an acute way right now, but you see it. Look at all the new advertisements today. You buy this pair of shoes and we donate a pair of shoes to a child in need. There is, of course, marketing and are using that eagerness of the new generations to make it right. So it is just an example. I'm not supporting that movement, but we have a lot to learn from marketing. They are right on the research they conduct for their market. They know their customers as well. We should know our learners as well. So I'm just borrowing that example from the marketing field. We need to bring it to our practices as online teachers as well. So our projects are not only relevant to our students because it meets their interests, their needs, but as importantly, they are helping them to make a contribution to society. And yes, I'm passionate about this, but I learned it from my students. And I'm going to have to share something else
Sure.
about my former student, Faradina Yusuf, that create a framework for the civic minded instruction designer that I will be sharing with you momentarily. So she published this framework in the British Journal of Education Technology. Again, it was a core part of her dissertation. Farah Yusuf is now an assistant professor at the University of Malaya in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And she's not only creating this framework, but she's practicing on a daily basis on her teaching. She has created several educational applications. They are trademarked as part of her classes on to address societal challenges like AIDS awareness, oral hygiene, all kinds of topics. And there's a variety of topics because there's a variety of needs within our student group. And she does things that are meaningful to our students and meet their interests. So in this perspective, the instruction designer is perceived as a change agent, someone that contributes to the equal distribution of social goods. We're not only talking about food and water and clean air. We talk about social goods like education, access, influence, and things that right now in today's society make the divide between the people that have and the people that have not. So link authentic learning activities to the civic mining perspective is asking students to create projects in the classes that they are taking where they not only apply what they are learning in class, but they are doing something that is meaningful to the context where they are practitioners. So let me give you another example if it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another example of a project that was done in one of my last semester online class in instruction design by a group of master students. Their names are on the bottom of the slide: Eric, Patrick, Brian, and Andrew. Half of the team, half of them were our high school teachers. So they try to handle a meaningful and relevant topic that is keep their students safe in the internet. So they are concerned about, their purpose was to educate digital citizens that act responsibly. So they tackled this difficult topic that was meaningful to them, but it was also making a contribution to the society, and can be society in general or their own community of high schoolers. So they create a high school edition of online materials on digital citizenship, and they use a scenario-based approach to explore difficult topics like sexting, uh, online reputation, online security, and digital footprint in a way, using a strategy and also using graphics. They were appealing to their target audience, again the high schoolers. And I can see this example as linking what authentic learning in online course means and with a civic mindset. So they are making again a contribution to their community, their school, their students, and maybe other students around the country can use their online materials if they decide to make it public. They're still discussing that. And just another example to make my point.
And it looks great. Thank you for sharing that. I really like when you're talking about authentic learning and civic-minded practices, how you tie that in your class. You're talking about the creating the projects, they're applying what they're learning in the class, but also using their own context to make some important change. I really like those connections there. So thank you for those examples from your students. They're very powerful. So we have two more questions, two last questions, and I'm adding something new into the interviews. And one of them, and I wish I would have done this with all of the people I've interviewed, and one of them is asking who has been your influencers in your career. And I know that's kind of a wide open question, but I'm going to start asking that of everyone I interview to see what they have to say. So we're going to go into that one, and then we're going to end, as I normally do, with a question, an advice question. So let's start, though, with your influencers.
This is a quite broad
Yeah.
question, but I'm happy you asking that question because it makes me think on the people that I have to thank for helping me learn and get where I am now. So I would say, all my teachers were influential, but the ones that mark the most, that make the biggest imprint, I would say were the professors I had as a doctoral student at Indiana University. So I'm going to acknowledge my major advisor, Dr. Barbara Bickemeyer, and she guided me through my dissertation work, and she taught me a lot about civic mindset. And Professor Elizabeth Bowling, Dr. Charles Rakeloff, Dr. Thomas Schwen, Dr. Michael Melinda, and many more that I cannot remember all the names right now. But that group of professors that taught me when I start as a graduate student at Indiana University in the Instructional Systems Technology program, I would say it was for me was a change in my career, in the way I was thinking about learning and teaching, and most importantly, now I'm going to sound really bad, but I had a European style or European graduate education that's more, it's very, does not have as much application. I'm trying to find the nice words here. It's very theory driven. So when I came to this program at Indiana University, we're engaged into these real world projects, and I never had that experience. I was so excited because I could see the theory working or not working when applied to the practice. So for me, it was a very influential moment. But I also, every day, when I think about every day who influences me, I need to say my students. They influence me every day because they allow me to discuss, to question, to engage into this intellectual conversation in a fresh way. They come from different countries. They had many different life experiences, and we learn from each other. This is just a picture of one of our meetings where we work on projects. Again, there's a lot of discussion, but we need to have some action too. So it's discussion guided by action. We always leave with some kind of outcome to look for the next time we meet.
Excellent. Love the sharing of the pictures of you and your students. That's great.
So I will be stopping here my sharing for a moment, and then I can address your last question, okay?
Great.
So I'm back.
You're back. There you are. Okay, so the question I ask everyone I interview is, what advice do you have for those, and you can fill in the blank, teachers, instructors, instructional designers who are new to online teaching and learning and who want to gain more competence and skill in designing and delivering effective online teaching and learning. So what advice do you have?
So I'm myself a learner. I'm learning about this every day. But my advice is just be fierce. No fear. Try new things. Push the tools or the systems to the limit. To do, like, we are pushing Skype to the limit today by sharing images and having me talking and you interviewing me. Just never forget what is the bottom line. The bottom line is to help someone to learn. The students, the teaching, and our teaching so think about a teacher, my teaching and my students' learning are the most important. I don't care if the tool looks cool or if I'm going to look cool because I'm using it. This is irrelevant. the tool should be, or the system, or the program, or the environment, online environment, should be helping me addressing the bottom line, helping people to learn better. And you need to be brave to do it. So just don't be afraid. If the system breaks, it breaks. So that would be my advice.
Excellent. I love that. I love that a lot. So, Dr. Correia, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you taking your time, sharing your work, where you came from, your work, and what your passions are, and who's influenced you, and showing the work of your students as well. So, again, thank you for your time.
Very welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you.